Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Baruch Hashem, we received the books. They came on Sunday, and the Levin family brought the books for us. So we got 10 copies, and I think there's about, some people picked them up already. Some still have to pick them up. I think there's about 3 books still available for those in the Shul who would like to have it. And we've finished the introduction, but before we get into the main part of the book, there's one more part over here. And since the books came late, I'm going to give you the next couple pages free of charge so we could look at it. But sooner or later, we're not going to be photocopying the book onto the screen. And this section is called Dvarim El Halomed Hayakar, literally words to the precious student. And we will call this as a user's manual as how to use this Sefer. And you'll see what he means. It's brief. We should finish it by today, I hope, and get really into the guts of the book tomorrow, which begins, the first chapter is Avas Yisrael, loving Jews. So that's a good chapter to start, especially this week's Parsha. Anyway, Kidei Lekabel Be'ezras Hashem es meirav hatoelas me'sefer, in order to receive with Hashem's help the big benefit of this Sefer, no'iris sumas halev lekaminyan. Let's make you aware of a few points to be aware of. Aleph, and it's a total of 7 points. Aleph, kol inyan bani kamamar shalom. Every topic is built as one essay. That's a standalone essay. In other words, it's meant to be studied. It could be studied in and of itself without anything else. So what's going to be the overflow, as it were? There's going to be some fundamental ideas that will be repeated many times in this book. Pam barucha, sometimes a long discussion, upam b'ktsara, sometimes a brief discussion. And as we say in the Talmudic world, vein beis medrash below chiddush, and there isn't a study hall without any new insights. Meaning, ki al yedei hachazara v'ashinun, by review and repetition, hadvarim mizbarim od va'od, things become further and further more clarified, umisyashvim alalev, and they sit better on the heart. So the first thing he's telling you is, since each section is a standalone section, it's not going to be presented in a way that assumed you know what was in other sections. So therefore, you may have some repetition. So you may ask, so why did the author do that? Because the whole point and success of learning any Sefer is with repetition. So often, the reader won't read over the book again. So by putting in built-in repetition through different chapters, that causes an automatic review of the books. That's number 1. So don't get put off. You say, oh, he said this 6 chapters ago. Yes, and now you're reviewing it. Bays. Rov Aris B'Sefer, most of the footnotes, that's at the bottom of the book, Einam Inyanim Studim, they're not just side off-topic comments. A lot of times you find in a Sefer, they'll put a footnote at the bottom, and I think in the English world as well. It says, for another discussion on this topic, look over here and over here. And it may not be exactly related to the point. He said that's not what these footnotes are about. Rather, it's expanding and going deeper into the content that was said in the main body of the Sefer. And it's not to be looked at as something separate from the main topic that you can skip over the footnotes. However, b'derech klal, in general, kedai lilmod is kol haperek. It's worthwhile, really, just go through the chapter without the notes. Kedai lekabel es hatzuras ha'shmaitza, to get the image of the topic. In other words, to get the breadth of the concept, and then to go back and go through the footnotes. So I'm still debating if that's what we're going to do, or just do the footnotes together with the main body. We will see. That's the second point. So the notes are inseparable. Gimel, Movad Tochen Yanim, besides the table of contents that he put in the beginning of the Sefer, every book has a table of contents, I hope. Yes, there it is. But the table of contents will just have chapter 1, Avas Yisrael. Chapter 2, Achila, eating. Okay, chapter 4, Gaiva, arrogance. So besides that, Hudvasnu Besofa Sefer, we've put into the end of the book, Gam Tochen Inyanim Aruch, an expanded table of contents at the end of the book. And Vamatara Keresba, and the main goal is Shuchal Shamas Kesikum, because that could be used as a summary by Sherhuvo Bokol HaKotaros, as he brings all the headlines of each chapter, Shem Tamtzayim, which is the gist of all the topics. So as we'll be learning every chapter, let's say chapter Avos Yisrael has the section Avos Yisrael has 2 chapters. Each chapter has a title, and chapter Aleph has 3 subdivisions, and chapter Base has 5 subdivisions. So as we go through the book, you'll see it there. But at the end of the book, he just puts that as the names of these headlines of the subdivisions. So that could be a way for you to review it. So for example, Avos Yisrael, the main headline of chapter Aleph is Ech Zochim Lahov Kol Yehudi. How do you merit to love every Jew? Then he puts the 3 bullet points, so that becomes a review. So therefore he finds that's a worthwhile thing as well. So maybe we will do that when we finish every chapter, so we get to have ourselves remember that. And if I was really a wonderful guy, I'd even put it in English for everybody. We'll see how much time Hashem gives us. Truly, lo nichla es v'sei, we can't hold back from saying, ki misha be'emes rightness likno rotza liknos kinyam advarim. Anyone who wants to acquire and really, like take in the contents really well. Just like when you buy something, you own it. If you want to own the material, you have to engage and work hard in a way that you turn it into, quote unquote, your Torah. If it's with abridgments, with reviews, with your own insights, just like it is in Torah everywhere. In other words, you have to put some of your own skin in the game. You should take your own notes, write certain things, have a way to remember certain things. We're in this book over here, my friend.
I know, I'm looking at my old notes.
Okay, fine. So that's another thing. And everybody's able to do this. Torah munachas b'karan savis, as the Gemara says, the Torah is put in the corner. Whoever wants to get it can get it. So the third point he's saying is review is important. Put your own input into it is important. Dalet, the fourth point. I want to now put in the words of the introduction of the author of the Sefer called Sha'arim B'Tfila, which was authored by Reb Shimshon Pincus Zichrona Levracha. No game Gamla Sefer said that would be very much applicable to this book as well. And these are the words that he wrote in his introduction. Since in this book there's many different topics, okay, therefore, the one who wants to get the most benefit from learning the Sefer Yira should see to it. So don't learn too much at one time. A little bit every time. And to this we say, too much honey isn't good either. On the one hand, it's easy to do a lot when you learn these kinds of books. Why? Because the topics just pull you. They pull you. I was just looking through the Sefer and I just start reading, it's so good. I just kept reading. I was going 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 pages. I'm saying, whoa, this is lots of good stuff over here. So he's saying, hold on, don't swallow up too much. Some will say, wow, it's such a good book. As opposed to a secular book, a novel. Okay, you want to read a lot because you want to get to the end of the book. Okay, it doesn't matter. You don't chazer over a novel unless, you're an English teacher and you have to teach it to people. But otherwise, not. Too much is not good. It's easy to do it because these are naturally, they draw you to it. But when that happens, it appears to the reader, says, oh, I'm repeating. You can't ascertain the subtle differences between the concepts. When you learn a little at a time, you get a greater benefit from each and every essay. So therefore, the main point he's saying is, Do a little bit at a time. Let it sink in, chew it over. And then when you understand that really clear, then you could look at the next topic. Or else it becomes just one mishkababble. And the main thing you have to be careful is Avodah atzmo, in the actual service of Hashem. You don't want to grab everything in one time. In the service of Hashem, it works the same way. Madrega achar madrega. You go level after level. Yeah, lost the place. Lafia, according to its topic. Until you manage to acquire all of it, Hashem Yisbarach, with Hashem's help. Let's see footnote Yud Gimel. Gam yesh losim lev. You should also pay attention. Darchei Avodah, when we talk about serving Hashem this way, yesh madregas rabbis. There's lots of levels in this serving Hashem to be close to Hashem. You have to be careful. You should engage in topics that are close to you, meaning to say, you should be studying concepts that are a little bit higher than the level that you're at. And not and not with things that are too far up beyond you. Even though a person should have great drives, you want to be the best. But in actual practice, it has to be according to your level, which gives you joy. But if he thinks he's really smart, but he's not, to skip over levels or to jump levels, at the end he will, God forbid, fall down. If a person really, his whole life has to grow. More and more. And not be satisfied with a little bit. You got to be very careful, to go one step after another. Especially a sefer like this. You have to be very careful not to take in too much light. But to go very, very slow. The same thing we know when it comes to dieting, when it comes to exercise. You just don't start picking up 100-pound weights, because you're going to throw your back out, right? You don't go a cold turkey on a diet. That's not going to work. You have to do what's reasonable. You have to have big dreams, but the big dreams will take a long time. And you do a little bit at a time. Now, how can you tell if you overreached or not, says the brackets? So how can you tell what is suited for your level? If you feel joy and you feel you're being built up by it. But here's the point. Even though it's hard, still no, but inside it's good. In other words, hard and good are not contradictions. Again, when you're lifting weights, if a good trainer will give you just a little bit more, so it's hard, but then you feel good, you did it. And you might be tired, but you're good, you did it. Same thing. Take something that's going to take effort, but it's reasonable effort that you can succeed. But something that you get burnt out from it, because that comes from sadness. If it's only because this is what I got to do, I got to learn this book. The rabbi's learning it. I got to learn this book. And you're learning things that are way beyond you. Then you got to really check. Maybe that's not the right way to do this. And it's self-understood. We're not talking about things in halacha. We're talking about halachas here. We're talking about here developing an attitude and how you look at things, which is more important than all, but it's not. But you can't say if halacha means, I got to look at other Jews in a favorable way. So I guess I can be Machal Shabbos with them as well, because then we'll be friendly with each other. No, you cannot break halacha. We're going to talk about loving other Jews. Yeah, I think I want to love this woman. No. There's certain halachas that you cannot break. Shebahem chayev kol Yehudi. Every Jew has to keep halacha. It doesn't matter how you feel. When it comes to halacha, it doesn't matter if you like it or not. You got to follow halacha. But we're talking about going in higher levels of service of Hashem, which is more of an abstract concept that you're trying to internalize, then, there's lots of time. You're not doing any averos per se. So there's lots of time to develop this. Okay, we've done the first 4 introductory points. On the next page, Yud Beis, we come to the 5th introductory points. Let's also speak El Halomed Hayakor, to the precious student. Derech or Hashem Yisparach, the way of the light of Hashem. Who Shu Miskala Umiskasa. It will have times when it's revealed and times when it's covered. V'tamid, always, that's the way it is. Acharei sheheir la'adam divrei Torah, when words of Torah illuminate into a person. V'itznot seitz belibo eish kodesh, and a holy fire ignites within the person. La'avdo yisparach b'levem, to serve Hashem with a good, full, true heart. What happens usually after that? Magia's man comes a time, shor miskasa, the light gets concealed. And therefore the inclination wants the person to despair. But Omra is going to say, it's not for you, or things like that. Yes, you felt great. You felt great learning Masechtas Brachas, but now you're getting to other things. It's hard. See, I told you it's not for you. Give up. Whatever you do, if it's learning, developing midos, whatever it is, you'll have success, and there will always be apparent failures after the success. And the reason for that is the Yetzer Hara wants you to feel it's not for you. And he's saying that's totally wrong. But you need to know this is the way, and Hashem put it right in the beginning of the Torah. Al Darchei, the pasuk says, in the very first day of creation, Vayerev Vayivoker, it was evening, and it was morning. And you have to know from the beginning, to strengthen yourself with faith. In other words, the darkness always precedes the day. In Judaism, the night is before the day. That's the yesod. To have daylight, there must be darkness first. So even if you have a success and there's light, but then there comes the second day. And the second day starts with the night again. And then you start with the light. And now, here's the point. So when things are going good and you're moving ahead, you feel great, you're having simcha. But what do you do when you feel like you're messing up? At those times of darkness, you have to hold on to the truth that got you into this. Not to leave it. To strengthen himself. You say to yourself, before I was so illuminated, and I really felt the truth. And I saw that Hashem was with me. And now you're feeling down. And therefore, things haven't really changed. If Hashem was with you before, things don't change. How come now I don't feel anything? That's only because of the darkness. If I will hold on to my place and I don't go down, Hashem will enlighten me. And therefore I will fulfill the pasuk. I wait for Hashem who conceals his face from the house of Israel, and I hope for him. Footnote Yudal is very short. He says a good analogy to this. Let's say you're in a room. Let's say it's nighttime now, and the lights are on, and you can see there's lots of stuff in this room. And suddenly blackout. It's dark. You don't see anything. Now, when it's totally pitch dark, do you think all the utensils that were in the room, they're not there anymore? Why? Because he doesn't see them. They must be gone. Person thinks like that. Certainly, a person would be considered mentally incompetent. That's the Yetzer Hara. He wants to make you crazy. Remember, Gemara says no one sins unless the spirit of insanity comes over him. The Yetzer Hara wants you to be crazy. You got to think like this. Yes, the last couple of weeks you've been growing and you're feeling and you're getting this emunah clear and all these things. You're really feeling good. Then one day, boom, you just don't see it. So the Yetzer Hara wants you to think, just because you don't feel it now. As I said, Simon Shor Kvar Lokim. That means the light's gone. and nothing's there. No, you have to strengthen yourself. Lamad alamdo, stay in your position, bitfila, with davening and amuna and faith, and don't leave the way of life. Until you merit that the sun bursts through in a very big way. So that's the idea, is hold on. That's the point. Hold on in the darkness. There's going to be times when you're down. Remember how good it was, and that was real. What you think now, it's just that the lights are out, but what you have isn't gone. Okay, Vav, the 6th point, you need to know. Mashbur, it says in the Holy Books, when a person enters service of God in this way, in a more inner way, the Yetzer is very much afraid to see you do this. Because he knows you're going to cut him out completely. If you really get into this, the Hasidic way of looking at things and seeing the truth beneath the surface, that's going to cut out the Yetzer Hara. Therefore, he's going to work very hard to prevent you from accessing that. Okay? You should know, when you're trying to learn this, his job is to stop you. Next page. And the disruptions can come in all kinds of ways. Sometimes from people on the outside, your friends, your neighbors, your family. Even though they intend for your betterment, at the end, they may intend or not. What they're really doing is they're preventing you from going on a more spiritual path. That's the point. There will be external factors. It could be your work. It could be your family. It could be all kinds of things. And sometimes they have frost. Sometimes there's inner obstacles from within. All kinds of doubts in your mind. Sometimes you just come out of nowhere. Very hard tests you're not used to having. Because the Yetzer Hara wants to break you from all that. He wants him to make the following incorrect conclusion. It appears that Hashem's not interested in me getting involved in this, because look what he's done to me. And you leave it. All things are happening. You're going to find, but Dafka, when you're getting really good at this, something's going to happen. Fired from work or promoted from work. Health goes down, whatever. Having problems with the kids, coronavirus, whatever. Or within yourself, you have questions. He does not want you to succeed in this area more than anything else. You need to know from the get-go. You have to know that the Yetzer Hara is going to, each and every one of us, hit us to try to stop us. Just like he did with Avraham Avinu, when he had to go to the Akedah. First, the Satan made himself into a river that he couldn't cross. To disturb his way of going on the path. And all other disturbances. We know some Akedah to not even go to the Akedah. He came like an old man, arguing with him. What are you going to do? People are going to say you're crazy. You killed your kid. That was an internal Yetzer Hara. Avraham Avinu went with the inner truth ad sof until the end. Until he merited. Avraham had a fight, very hard. But eventually he reached that level. Footnote test Vav. Let's get more into these external ideas. Why all of a sudden you're having all these questions about your development when your other friends who aren't involved in this have no questions at all? So he says, a lot of times, a person starts his growth in a certain way, a very good path. After he has a certain degree of success, but in Shamayim, they want him to grow more. Quite often, we hit a certain stride, and we're really happy with that stride. We'd like to glide with that. And Hashem, who loves us, does not want us to do that. And therefore, Hashem wants us to go higher. He wants us to find a deeper way of serving Hashem. Therefore, what happens? All of a sudden, all kinds of problems come up. All of a sudden he feels Shein lo tam b'tefillah. I have nothing. I don't feel anything with my davening. Or I'm getting more angry now. And I'm not careful with my kedusha, my purity of soul in aspects of morality. And he doesn't know how to explain it. But with the utensils and the mind that he has, the path doesn't seem to be able to succeed. So what's going on? So Yeda Nemana, you got to know it's tried and true. Hashem is talking to you. Go look deeper. When we talk about pnimis, inner service of God, there are answers to everything. Therefore, if a person thinks I have no solution for my problem, that's not true. Take the advice from Sfarim or Tzadikim who we can trust. Just go further. Don't stay in your place. Even the place that you're at, you're standing now, even though it's a good place, you've grown a lot and you're in a good place. But Hashem is saying it's time to move on. Hashem wants you to move further. What's the sign? If you see that the tools you had for they don't help anymore. That means to serve, to succeed. What used to work doesn't work now. That means you got to up your game. Person first becomes about tshuva. Just the experiences lift you up. But 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th year around, and you're doing it the same way, all of a sudden you're not feeling anything. That means what you did before is not good enough. You got to take it on a new way now. Umashal Pashtus, a very simple analogy. A child grows, you need new clothes. You grow out of your clothes. And clothes are made to measure with a midah. And therefore you got to realize the midah that you had at a certain time of life, you've grown out of it. It's not going to fit you anymore. You got to work harder on that midah. Has to suit the height that the person is at this point. So we could say like this, when a person was on a lower level, you often don't see the problems that are there. Now that you're growing, you start noticing things you never noticed before when you were on a lower level, and they start to bother you. As you now notice, there is really a better way of doing things. Whenever, if you ever watched Get Smart, Maxwell Smart, and he'd have to take out a new type of enemy. So the boss would say, and we've given you certain new technology to be able to, these gadgets, to be able to deal with this specific problem. So it's a good mashal. In other words, in life, Hashem wants you to grow. The certain things you've had till now, when you were only on a certain spiritual level, you didn't even notice that you have problems. But now Hashem says, you got to grow more, because now you're beginning to realize that as good as you were now, but as you're maturing, that's not really going to cut it. When you thought you first came to Shul and we're talking in Shul, you thought that's great. I'm a great person. I go to Shul every day. I'm such a spiritual Jew. I'm getting so much out of Shabbos. Also, you start learning a little more. You're not supposed to talk in Shul. You got to daven, and you're davening, and that's kind of hard. That's kind of boring. I don't really like that. I think I'm not getting anything out of my Yiddishkeit. That means you got to step up the game and really get into prayer and really understand what you're saying. And that's what you have to expect. You have to expect falls and big falls, because the growth you had is not meant to go. If you feel fine, that means you haven't grown and your suit still fits. If you're growing, you'll feel that the suit doesn't fit and you got to put on a better suit. Okay, we'll stop it over here. We're almost finished this part. God willing, we'll finish that up quickly tomorrow and then start Avas Yisrael tomorrow.